Hello, everyone. This is Vern Davis, your host of Plant Profits. My guest today on Plant Profits is Claudia Della Mora. Claudia is the founder, co-founder of Black Legend Capital, and Claudia's been very, very busy. We're here today and at MJ BizCon 2022 in wonderful Las Vegas, Nevada. And Claudia, thank you so much for joining me
You're
on Plant
welcome.
Profits today.
Excited to be here as well.
Just getting ready to have this conversation with you, I was just looking, you have been involved in about a dozen or more deals in the last 2 years that's related to cannabis.
Correct.
Yeah.
More than that.
It's,
Yes.
yes. That's what I counted, right? I'm sure
Sure.
that's something I don't know about, obviously, but I mean, a dozen or more deals to move the industry forward. You have this extensive background in investment banking and M&A business. Tell me about Black Capital. Tell me about your company and what you guys do and what's the mission.
Sure.
Okay.
So Black Legend Capital is a boutique advisory and consulting investment banking group. We help companies with capital raises, capital structures, and merger and acquisitions or IPOs. Basically, our background is all in M&A, investment banking, Wall Street. I come from Merrill Lynch. My partners from Duff and Phelps and other bulge bracket investment banking firms. Um, Different sectors. I started investment banking actually in gaming and lodging. Las Vegas was our main focus. We were the #1 gaming and lodging team in Wall Street at Merrill Lynch and financed the casinos. Then moved to consumer products. So consumer products in the healthy and sustainable living industry, mostly based in California.
Right.
Then moved to energy, oil and gas and mining.
Yeah.
So we started Black Legend Capital after the credit crunch about 10 years ago for investments into the energy space. My colleagues, as I said, they come from investment banking technology side as well and energy. So we got together and we did this. Now, cannabis, being based in Los Angeles, it was a natural progression of the business. So since 2015, we've been advising, helping different verticals of the industry, from cultivation to dispensaries, distribution, technology, branding, consumer products, and pharma companies as well. Firstly, mostly domestically.
Could I just interrupt you for 1 second? What's your value prop to these companies in these different sectors?
Right. So basically the same as for other industries such as technology, oil and gas. So helping them structure their financing and their capital raises, equity and debt, or helping them sell part of the company or merge with another company, or different tiers for going public, like S1 filing or IPO filing. Yes. Now for the cannabis space and also in oil and gas, because we became very passionate about the business, we're helping companies also in business development, international relationships.
Okay, right. And as you see what you do, right, specifically, do you see that over the next couple of years? How do you see what you do relates to the cannabis industry, relating to the cannabis industry? Is there going to be more activity, less activity? How do you foresee the next 24 months?
Right, that's a good question. So I foresee the next 24 months to be like a harvesting of the past 2 years, actually, the past 2 years. So in the past 2-3 years, we dived into international legalization and understanding the international trade and relationships and demand and supply worldwide, because this industry as a commodity and also encompassing almost every vertical of the economy out there, from agriculture to technology. You must understand the driving forces in other countries as well, because in long term. So I dived into other countries, emerging countries like Australia, Asia, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and I really think that in the next 2 years we will see a beautiful flowering of the industry, in a way that each country will establish certain regulations, and hopefully the United Nations will deschedule cannabis, and there will be more relationships between countries, right?
That's a great wish. Do you see that prospect being true?
So you can divide, I think you can divide the world in two types of consumers. There's the
Okay.
recreational side,
Uh-huh.
and then there's the medical side, right? Of course, we also have the wellness and the CBD side over the counter, and then you have the industrial side, which nobody talks about. Well, the industrial side, and maybe also to some degree, the over-the-counter CBD and the medical is what is going to drive the rest of the world in terms of the market size and the business. While the recreational side, you see mostly right at the moment North America with the United States and Canada,
Mhm.
and slowly but surely, as the stigma goes away and as regulations get clarified in each
Right.
country,
Sure.
you will see that develop also in other countries, the recreational side later on.
If you were to, if well, you are this person. So, do you advise? What do you advise your clients if you're saying if they're in the U.S. And they want to put money into a different market for expansion?
Right.
Okay, where do you tell them to go? What's the first place you tell them to go?
Which market?
Yeah,
If they really want to go into another, well,
yeah.
are these investors like just independent investors, or are they
No, no, no.
strategic like
They're
companies
in the business.
in the
They're in the
business?
business in the U.S., but they want to expand.
Okay, so there has to be a reason, right, in order
Yeah.
to do that. Most recreationally focused companies in the US obviously naturally will try to capture as much of the domestic market, right, and
Yeah.
go into the East Coast the center side of
Mm-hmm.
United States. So there's still space for growth in the
Mm-hmm.
recreational side in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But we can see that some other Canadian mostly they're really driving this expansion. So Europe has been the main focus for many of these companies. They want to look
Europe.
for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Europe.
Do you agree with that choice?
I think it does make sense. It makes
Okay.
sense, yes, because if you look at the emerging markets like Africa,
Mm-hmm.
they will have their own operators.
Right.
They need help in the supply chain, but they will develop their market domestically in a second space. They're focused mostly on export at the moment. Latin America is huge. Mexico, for example, and Brazil, they're going to be some of the biggest markets.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they're Brazil is very behind. They're not allowed. It's very strictly medically, only for finished products. So I do see that countries like Colombia, for example, will eventually focus more on Latin America instead of just focusing on Europe as they are doing right
Now,
now.
why is that?
Well, Colombia is like the leading country in Latin America for
Yes,
cannabis,
they've been
right?
that way for a handful of years.
Through trial and errors, we've
Mm-hmm.
gone through all kinds of scenarios there. They've received a lot of investment money in the past few years. We've learned a lot of mistakes there,
Okay.
mostly because of legislation and timing of new laws coming out,
Okay.
especially like the export of the flower, which was allowed only last year in 2021.
Okay.
Well, now with the new president in Colombia, he wants to create like a free market, kind of a regular commodity, make cannabis like a regular commodity,
Mm-hmm.
and he's still stressing the importance of export into Europe. But I do think with Germany fighting back that type of mentality and creating even more regulations, and obviously with countries in Europe now developing their own supply chain, I think Colombia should focus mostly on Latin America, domestic market in
Mm-hmm.
Latin America. I mean,
Okay.
Brazil is one of the biggest markets. If you can make medical finished products EU GMP certified, 12-month stability testing, then Brazil will be a great market to sell to. When
Yeah.
you got Mexico coming in line,
Yes.
Mexico is going to be also extremely important, and mostly for North America. That is why they've been talking and trying to draft this legalization for the past several years, since 2017, since the Supreme Court deemed prohibition unconstitutional. The problem is that Mexico is part of the USMCA, the new NAFTA. Canada is federally legal. So if Mexico goes federally legal, United States would be forced to go federally legal. And United States is not ready at the moment. So US is one of the reasons why Mexico is waiting. Another reason, of course, is also their internal issues, such as the military.
Yeah.
There was actually a problem, like a hacking problem, in the past 2 months in Mexico. They discovered the military actually is behind everything the president is doing or saying every morning, on video. So, and the military is actually against, very conservative, is against cannabis legalization. You have the cartel, obviously. So the legalization has to be drafted in a way that you protect the good, honest operator, right, and not give more power to the
But see,
cartel.
that's exactly why Colombia is not investing in those markets, right?
In which
Just
market?
in the South American markets and probably in Mexico
Uh-huh.
because they understand the dynamics of government and and armed forces.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And that creates who's the leader? Who am I talking to?
Well, actually, for example,
Yeah.
Mexico is currently importing API from Colombia. So Mexico legalized medical cannabis at the beginning of 2021,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no really written rules. So there's no cultivation,
Right.
extraction. There's only the ability for a consumer to receive the product via a magistral formula, which is doctor prescription. And the only entities that are allowed to sell are compounding pharmacies with their narcotic license. Narcotic license gives you the ability to sell and also to import. So they actually have to import. They cannot import the flower. They can import the API, the extract of the THC. And where are they importing it from? From Colombia.
Yeah.
Because Colombia is following the EU, aka Germany, rules of EU GMP certification. So Mexico is importing API from GMP certified facilities in Colombia. So I think that Colombia should continue doing this. It's a good business. Since Mexico is behind, it's going to have to wait till US goes federal. And Brazil is a big market still as an import, and they're not going to allow any cultivation in Brazil for the time being.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Do you believe Germany in 2 years will be better off?
Better off than what?
And cannabis
Yeah.
because of the government and the change of government
So
all this movement and talk and chatter you hear about.
yeah. I don't think Germany is talking. I think they're doing. Actually, Germans are famous for being, following rules very well.
Okay.
And also, they could be actually a very good example in Europe, causing a dominoes effect to all the other countries. So Germany is already medically legal, like most of Europe. Germany is one of the few countries in Europe that already issued via tender cultivation licenses. There's 3 main cultivation licenses got by Aurora, Tilray, and Demecan.
Okay.
Denmark also did the same thing. Portugal as well, and Greece as well. Kind of that's it. The rest of the countries in Europe, they can use and import medical cannabis. So Germany at this point, in the past, October, they finally decided to draft the first legislation protocol for recreational cannabis. That has to be approved by the EU, but we believe it will be implemented by beginning of 2024. Okay, so now there's a lot of questions on those new regulations, which are very, very different from medical regulations. It's highly regulated, the German market, and they strictly follow, the single convention and all the rules on international trade for narcotics. And that is why Germany is saying the entire supply chain for the recreational market will be domestic. It's not just to protect their market and keep prices high, but mostly for safety for the consumer, and also to fight the illicit market imports from the illicit market.
A Black Legend Capital. Do you guys consult governments?
Not yet, but I'm about to.
You are?
Yes.
Break some news right here on Plant Profits.
Great. So basically, I've been spending the past several months working on opportunities in Italy. Nobody talks about Italy, but Italy and France are actually the biggest markets in Europe, bigger than Germany. Germany is about $8 billion, similar to California, $8 billion market per year. That's a projection, of course, illicit. France and Italy roughly around 10 billion.
Okay.
Okay, so there's many smokers in Italy. They are very passionate about cannabis. Now it's medically legal, but the government has not issued any license yet. So they're about to issue the first medical
Italy.
licenses.
Yeah.
Yes, and that means that the whole supply chain will have to be developed.
Yeah.
Also, Italy, just like other countries like Brazil and Colombia, just went through new elections.
Okay.
Italy actually has a new government right now run by a woman, and they're right wing. So differently from the other new elections, the other countries went left. Italy went more conservative. There has been a little bit of a fear for the cannabis industry, but
Sure.
I think it's not right to be afraid, because certain changes that sometimes are needed in order to improve regular business in a country. Okay, so the Conservative Party in Italy will foster domestic national businesses, and therefore also issue this license to help businesses develop and the supply chain in Italy as well. So if you think it's the biggest market, right, and it's also a market where consumers like to walk to stores, so the retail side is very important, and plus all the tourism that we have in Italy, right?
Yeah.
So I think Germany will be a very good example for the rest of Europe to follow, which is going to impact what African countries and Latin American countries such as Colombia will have to deal with.
Okay. All right. Good. So let me ask you, what do you believe that the U.S. cannabis industry, what should they be optimistic about?
The U.S. cannabis industry.
Yeah.
What should I be optimistic about?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we're trying to go towards federal legalization, and President Biden has made some progress in the past couple of months.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we should hope for is the Safe Banking Act, as it affects not only U.S. companies but worldwide companies, because the big federal banks, also the Swiss banks, the German banks, they're all tied to Wall Street anyways.
Yeah.
So we need more capital. That is even more important than federal legalization.
Yes.
That should come as soon as possible. Then obviously for US, we need to, before a real talk on federal legalization and scheduling, we should also understand how to solve the interstate commerce problem, because obviously we've issued licenses, all kind of licenses in different states.
That's right.
And a free interstate commerce might harm possibly cultivation facilities in the northeast states of the U.S. That is just my thought, right?
Your thought. So, but what would your reaction be to that?
To what?
Yeah, to what? What would your reaction be to you put up a cautionary point? If we have free interstate commerce on cannabis, some of the northeastern states cultivation could be damaged because of that, right?
Yeah.
So what would you do with that?
Well, I was speaking with NCIA about this last year, and they were saying, but we can not allow imports.
Okay.
For flour. Okay, great, but then every state is going to follow the same thing, right? So then we're back to square one. So it's going to be an economics and math analysis of the situation. There's many other verticals in cannabis space that can be developed in every state.
Yeah.
So I think we just have to probably solve the issue of cultivation.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's absolutely fair. What other challenges do the companies you invest in, right? And I think you may have had a conversation with Andreas earlier. Cookies, we do work with cookies and companies like that, and I know you guys have done some things. What are some of the challenges of your investments, right? The companies you invest in, what are some of their day-to-day challenges?
Of the companies? Well, okay, U.S. or worldwide? Every geography has a different.
Let's just talk U.S.
U.S.
Yeah.
Well, competition, first of all. Like,
Okay.
for example, we've seen CBD brands doing a very good job and getting a very good market share
You're talking
in the
about
US.
Delta 8?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously valuation has gone down dramatically in the past few years. We have the same issue, marketing and shelf space,
Okay.
shelf space in a consumer product. So
Mm-hmm.
CBD, right, over the counter, is the biggest, the most expensive commodity in cannabis. And again, I think the biggest issue right now is financing.
Mm-hmm.
Is financing and also a good business planning
Mm-hmm.
for these companies to grow in a healthy way.
Okay.
In a healthy way,
Uh-huh.
yes. I mean, we've seen some of the major chains and major multi-state operators making incredible mistakes, right, in the past few years, overspending, big ego.
Right.
So I think we've all learned from that lesson.
You think so?
I hope so.
I hope so too. I'm with you, Claudia. I hope that folks have learned and are going to approach it in a different way. But I think that's what you talked about at the beginning of our conversation about the next 2 years is going to reflect what we've done now, right?
Right.
Right. And there will be a righting of the ship. There'll be companies that are going to get larger and some that are going to get smaller and some that are going to go away.
Exactly. I think the next 2 years will be
Yeah.
very important because we will see, obviously, Germany implementing this recreational law, maybe even Switzerland and other
Okay.
countries in Europe as a domino effect. So, and of course, the other countries also creating their own, better regulations. So I think United States will have to move fast at that point.
Yes.
With Mexico pressuring as well.
Mhm.
I think United States will have to finally pass this Safe Banking Act and also figure out these other issues of interstate commerce. And I think, many multi-state operators might go into, also the medical side to grow their market elsewhere.
That's quite interesting. Okay. I like that. Now, you and your company, right? You're focused on what now? What are you guys focused on moving forward?
Okay,
Yeah.
what am I focused on?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely focused on, at this point, on helping emerging countries develop their supply chain.
Okay.
And I'm focused on US MSOs and Canadian LPs to expand better, into emerging countries and add value to the new supply chain in a way that is not just a profit for them, but a profit for everybody, also for the players in the other countries.
Okay. No, that's terrific. All right. That's great. That is awesome.
And maybe, like there's many verticals of the industry. We're talking about, the same ones, but what about education and also support of religious leaders, right? Bring our expertise from North America into the other countries.
I like it. I like it. I like the education part, right? I like the education part because I think people like you, governments need education.
Governments, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, people get elected prime ministers that don't even know that next door there's legalization happening. I mean, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Of course, they need a lot of education.
They need a lot of education, and they need to be open to it.
Yeah.
They have to be open to it, right? And they got to be willing to acquire it.
Right.
And I think that what you guys do and what you guys do at Black Legend Capital
and we're not the only ones. There's amazing consultants for governments in different countries, in South Africa, in Germany, and really all of them should be praised and valued.
Yeah, let's look at some results.
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah, Thank you for being here, Claudia.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. My guest today on Plant Profits, Claudia Della Mora, Managing Director and Co-Founder of Black Legend Capital.